Today, we're digging into a topic that hits home for so many of us. It's that tricky and, let's be honest, kind of worrying connection between all the screens our toddlers are using and how they're developing. I mean, this is the big question, right? Every parent is asking it. In a world where tablets and phones are basically the new teddy bears, what is all this screen time actually doing to our kids' brains? The concern is so real, and the stakes just feel incredibly high. And here's a big reason why those stakes feel so high. The CDC says the rate of autism is now 1 in every 44 children. Just let that sink in for a second. Back in 1970, it was more like 1 in 10,000. That is a massive jump, and it has researchers scrambling to understand why. Now, you can't help but notice that this huge increase in diagnoses happened right alongside the explosion of screens in our daily lives. That parallel makes it so important to get to the bottom of it, to separate the fear from the actual facts. So that's what we're going to do. Let's dive in and see what the science really says. So, here's the game plan for this explainer. We'll start with this modern parenting dilemma. Then, we'll untangle the whole correlation versus causation thing. After that, we'll explore something called the virtual autism link, share a really hopeful story of improvement, and wrap up with a practical media plan you can actually use. All right, Section 1, the modern parenting dilemma. Every parent out there feels this, that constant back and forth between how easy a screen makes things and that little voice in your head worrying about it. So let's get right to the science. Okay, let's get this out of the way right now because it's super important. This is from the American Academy of Pediatrics. They are crystal clear. There is no evidence that screens cause autism. Autism is a complex neurodevelopmental condition with deep genetic roots. But, and this is the but we really need to pay attention to, more and more studies are finding a connection between a lot of screen time and what they call autism-like symptoms. And that leads us perfectly into our next section, which is honestly the key to understanding this whole topic, the difference between correlation and causation. They are not the same thing, and it's a crucial distinction. So let's break it down. Over here on the left, you have autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. That's a clinical diagnosis, a neurodevelopmental condition. Then, over here on the right, you have these autism-like symptoms. Think of things like speech delays, not making a lot of eye contact, hyperactivity, behaviors that might look like autism but could actually be coming from something else in the child's environment, like, say, a whole lot of screen time. Okay, so if we're talking about symptoms and not the disorder itself, what does that actually mean? Well, this gets us into this fascinating emerging idea of virtual autism. Now, a Romanian psychologist named Dr. Marius Zomfer actually came up with this term, virtual autism. Now, to be clear, this is not an official medical diagnosis. It's more of a descriptive term he's using for a specific set of autism-like symptoms that seem to pop up in kids who've had tons of exposure to screens in those really early years. And the evidence is building. Take a look at this. It's from a study in Indonesia, and it shows what scientists call a dose-response relationship. It's pretty clear. You see that first bar? Kids with less than 3 hours of screen time a day were showing some issues. Language delay, short attention span. But then look at the next bar. For kids who got more than 3 hours, another symptom got added to the list, hyperactivity. Simply put, the more screen time, the more symptoms they saw. And then there's this number 3.08. This points to another huge piece of the puzzle. A study in Malaysia found that it wasn't just about how many hours the screen was on. Toddlers who were on screens with 0 parent interaction had an autism risk score of 3.08. That's way higher than kids who had a parent engaging with them. So it suggests the absence of that human connection during screen time is a really big deal. And that right there is the heart of the matter. The real enemy might not be the screen itself. It's what the screen replaces. Every hour a little one spends staring at a device is an hour they are not spending on face-to-face play, on babbling back and forth with a parent, on all that messy, beautiful human connection that literally builds a healthy brain. Okay, I know this all sounds a little doom and gloom, but hang on, because this is where the story gets really, really hopeful. The big question is, can these effects be turned around? And the research is screaming yes. Let's look at a story of real improvement. So, the International Journal of Autism published some case studies that are just wow. They followed kids who were showing major autism-like symptoms and also had a history of really heavy screen use. Just look at these results. It's pretty staggering. You're looking at two different kids and on two different scales for measuring autism risk and severity. Before the intervention, they were both scoring in the high risk and mild autism range. And afterward, they both dropped all the way down to low risk and basically none. I mean, the change is just incredible. It's undeniable. So you have to be asking, okay, how did they do it? What was the magic fix? Well, it wasn't just one thing. First, they slashed screen time way down. They brought in speech and language therapy, and this is so important, they coached the parents on how to play and interact with their kids more, making real, human social time the top priority. Which brings us right to our last section, and it's all about you. Let's talk about building a healthy media plan and turning all this research into simple, actionable steps for your own family. And honestly, here is the absolute best news of all. The American Academy of Pediatrics reminds us that little kids' brains have this amazing thing called plasticity. It just means they're incredibly flexible, constantly changing and adapting. And because of that, even small, consistent changes in your daily habits can make a huge, huge difference. It really boils down to 4 main ideas. 1. Set clear limits. Kids actually feel safer with routines and rules. 2. Prioritize interaction. If a screen is on, get down on the floor with them. Make it a we thing, not a you thing. 3. Choose quality content. Be the gatekeeper. And 4, and this one might be the toughest, model healthy habits. They see you scrolling, they're watching you all the time. And if you want the hard and fast numbers, the official AAP guidelines are your best friend. It's pretty simple. Basically, no screens at all before 18 months, unless you're video chatting with grandma. Then you can slowly bring in good quality shows, but watch with them. And from ages 2 to 5, the big rule is to limit it to just 1 hour a day of high quality stuff. So let's just be really clear. The goal here isn't to make technology the villain. It's a tool. It's part of our world. The goal is just to be thoughtful, to be intentional, and to fiercely protect the one thing that technology can so easily push aside, that vital, brain-building, soul-filling human connection. You know, when we actually understand what the research is telling us, we can let go of the panic. We can stop feeling guilty or wondering if we're bad parents. We can empower ourselves to just use these tools more wisely and find a healthier, happier balance for our families. So I'll leave you with this final thought. It's not about a massive overhaul overnight. It's a simple, actionable question. What's just one single screen-free thing you can do with your child today?